In the span of 1 month, I would say none, because it's a very rare disorder.
Okay. But it exists, doesn't it?
And the woman who came to her, the woman who would later become the center of one of the most haunting cases in recent memory, was suffering from something far more dangerous than generalized anxiety. The doctor never saw her in person. Not once. 14 appointments, all through a screen. And when the woman told her she couldn't sleep, when she described the anxiety that kept her trapped in bed, the doctor prescribed a medication with a black box warning for suicidal and homicidal ideation. She did not use the specialized test designed for postpartum depression. She used a general screening tool instead. She did not know what her patient drank, when she drank, or why. She did not ask. Before we go deeper into what the evidence actually shows, make sure you're subscribed to Shadow Jury Archives. Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the facts. Imagine a bridge, a suspension bridge, massive and steel, built to carry thousands of people safely across a chasm. Now imagine that the engineers who designed it never checked the tensile strength of the cables. They assumed the cables were strong enough. They assumed the materials would hold. They never tested, and when the first car drove across, the bridge didn't collapse immediately. It held. For weeks it held, but the cables were fraying. The stress was accumulating, and no one was looking closely enough to see the cracks. That is the story of a patient and her psychiatrist. The bridge was supposed to hold. The system was supposed to work. And when it failed, the question became not whether the cables were weak, but whether anyone had ever bothered to inspect them at all. The psychiatrist took the stand. She was calm. She was composed. She was articulate, and she was, by her own admission, a doctor who had been practicing independently for 1 month before she met the patient. 1 month. The lawyer asked her, point blank, how many patients she had treated for postpartum depression in that month. She said maybe a couple. Maybe a couple.
Absolutely.
And one of the things would be the voices that people hear, right?
That is a symptom of
She had been a doctor for exactly 1 month. 1 month of independent practice. 1 month of treating patients on her own. And in that month, she had treated exactly 0 cases of postpartum psychosis. 0, because it's rare, she said, but it exists.
How about postpartum depression? How many people in that month or so before you met Lindsay did you treat for postpartum depression?
In the span of 1 month, it's really hard to pinpoint that. Maybe a couple.
Maybe a couple?
She couldn't remember exactly. She couldn't pin down the individuals. The lawyer asked her about her website, the place where patients found her. She said she didn't recall the wording.
For a span of time.
Can you tell the jury what you put in your ad or in the Astor website that you indicated that described you?
I don't.
She said she had read it a couple of times, but didn't spend a lot of time on it.
Well, you've been working now for how many years now? 3 since you saw Lindsay? Or more?
Almost 4, yes.
You haven't changed your ad on the website, have you?
I have not personally, no.
And you've read it probably a bunch of times, right?
She said she had a special interest in perinatal psychiatry, in women's health, in trauma-related disorders.
Okay. Do you recall that you indicated that you were specializing in any particular aspect of psychiatry?
Yes. It probably includes a special interest in women's health.
She said it was listed as one of her interests. But when the lawyer pressed her, "Are you an expert in postpartum?" her answer was revealing.
Are you an expert in postpartum?
I may be. I don't know. I think it depends on what you define it.
I may be. I don't know. I think it depends on what you define an expert as. I may be. I don't know. That is not confidence. That is not the language of someone who has mastered a specialty. That is the language of someone who hopes the definition is flexible enough to include them. And here is the problem. The patient believed the website. The patient believed she was coming to someone who understood. The patient filled out a form with pages of checkboxes, a form with drop-down menus, a form that forced the doctor to select from 3 predetermined options instead of writing what she actually observed. The doctor could not take a pen and write something down. She was limited by the technology. "You're a doctor," the lawyer said. "Why are you limited?"
Congruent.
You're like a robot. You can't take a pen and write something down. You have to do the drop box and the X's on the computer.
Well, if it's on the computer, I'm limited by the options that are up there
You're a doctor. Why are you limited?
because of the technology.
What technology? The fact that there's a form on a computer?
Because of the technology. Because there's a form on a computer. The patient was a human being. The doctor was treating her through a screen, and the gap between those two realities was filled with checkboxes. The appointments were all by telemedicine. 14 appointments. Every single one of them through a screen. The doctor never saw the patient in person.
Every single one of them were by telemedicine, weren't they?
Yes,
Until you came in this courtroom Friday, you never saw this woman in person, did you?
correct.
She never saw her legs bouncing with anxiety. She never saw her hands wringing. She never saw the physical manifestations of distress that a trained psychiatrist might recognize in a room. She saw a face on a screen. She heard a voice. She listened, and she prescribed. The patient told her she couldn't sleep. She told her it was difficult to get out of bed. She was crying.
She was crying. She told you symptoms that she couldn't get out of bed. Isn't that right?
At one time, she said it was difficult to get out of bed
Oh, difficult to get out. Why was it difficult for Lindsay Clancy to get out of bed?
because she was very depressed.
And did you give her...
She was depressed, and the doctor prescribed Zoloft. Zoloft and SSRI with a black box warning.
There's a black box warning on Zoloft, along with other SSRIs, right?
Under
Yes
age
or no?
for children and adults younger than Lindsay.
Excuse me, doctor, I apologize. Can you just listen to my question and answer it yes or no? Is there a black box warning on Zoloft?
The doctor's answer was careful. There's no evidence that it causes that at all in individuals over 24. No evidence. But absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And the patient was already deteriorating. The doctor's own records said so.
Affect a person that's 3 or 4 years older than the FDA cutoff with suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation?